and thank you for joining us. The Trump administration went to court Monday defending its decision to deport hundreds of alleged gang members to El Salvador. The president of El Salvador posted this video on his X account Sunday, appearing to show U.S. deportees getting off a plane and being sent to one of the country's high-security prisons. President Trump invoked a centuries-old law to carry out most of the deportations. It's called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. It allows for the arrest and removal of non-citizens from the country in the case of war or an invasion. The American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, sued the administration on Saturday over its use of the Alien Enemies Act. And then later that night, a judge ordered the Trump administration to stop the deportations and turn around any planes that hadn't yet landed in El Salvador. That didn't happen, but the White House says it did not break any laws.
In fact, this administration acted within the confines of the law, again, within the president's constitutional authority and under the authority granted to him under the Alien Enemies Act. We are quite confident in that, and we are wholly confident that we are going to win this case in court.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro is covering the president, and CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez is here in studio. Camilo, let's go ahead and start with you here. So you've been following this hearing this evening on these flights. What have you heard?
Well, this is truly an extraordinary legal battle between the Trump administration, this judge in the federal district court in D.C., and the ACLU, and it was on full display during this hearing. The Trump administration is essentially arguing that the court order that was issued by the judge did not apply to planes that were already in the air, because that directive to turn back planes already in the air was issued orally by the judge during a hearing over the weekend, and it was not included in the written order. And even if that was the case, the administration is also arguing that the court has no jurisdiction to order the return of planes that are over international waters and not over U.S. land and not on U.S. airspace. But the judge did not agree with that and was not buying that argument. Let me read you some of the quotes from the hearing. The judge said, "It does not matter if you're in United States airspace or not." And apparently, he said, "My oral orders don't seem to carry much weight." He's saying that the oral directive is also applicable and should be followed. Now, the judge has given the administration until tomorrow at noon to provide additional information about these deportation flights, and also has a hearing scheduled for Friday to discuss the merits of the case, which of course is the ACLU arguing that this invocation of this 18th century statute is unlawful.
So these people were deported without typical due process.
That's right.
What is the typical due process?
Well, under U.S. immigration law, migrants who are in the country without permission or who are non-citizens are eligible to, for example, apply for asylum to delay on a temporary basis their deportation. And they're also given due process, including court hearings or asylum interviews. That is not the case under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, because under that 18th century law, the migrants are treated as enemy aliens who can be summarily arrested, detained, and deported from the country.
The president of El Salvador sort of appeared to mock the judge's order on X, writing "oopsie, too late" about the migrant flights. Why is El Salvador inserting itself in this way?
Well, now we know that El Salvador's government is getting at least $6 million from the U.S. to house this particular group of deportees. And El Salvador's president, which is a strong U.S. ally of this current administration, is saying that they are willing to house and detain more criminals and deportees from the U.S.
Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you. Let's turn now to CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro. Aaron, the White House claims it did not violate the judge's order. How's the administration justifying all this?
Yeah, throughout the day, you heard officials defend the move from this past weekend. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said it did not violate the order because the flights were out of U.S. territory before the federal judge's written order. Now, when asked about the verbal order from this D.C. judge that came about an hour before, she seemed to indicate that it doesn't hold the same weight as a written order, and said that that was something the White House counsel was going to be looking into. We also heard from White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who argued that the order was, quote, patently unlawful. He compared it to a federal judge trying to control the movement of U.S. troops overseas. And Miller also noted that Trump had talked about using the Alien Enemies Act during the 2024 campaign, and that he was elected by the American people to make big policy shifts, such as what we saw this past weekend.
The White House says everyone deported to El Salvador was a gang member. How did the administration determine that?
Yeah, Levitt said that of the 261 deported, 137 were deported under the Alien Enemies Act due to their ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. Both Levitt and White House border czar Tom Homan said there were prior investigations into these individuals before the flights, both from on-the-ground work by immigration officials as well as a review of their social media and criminal records, and voiced confidence that they were all tied to this specific gang. Officials were repeatedly asked, though, throughout the day if the names of these migrants would be released. You're seeing from the White House social media accounts videos of some of these detained and migrants that were on those flights. They did not say whether their names would be released, citing privacy concerns.
President Trump Monday teased some news about Chinese President Xi Jinping. What can you tell us?
Yeah, President Trump said that the Chinese president would be coming in the not-too-distant future. He seemed to lump it in with the other foreign dignitaries, such as from India and the United Kingdom, that have been coming. This, of course, is notable just given China's role as an adversary to the United States and the ongoing tariff war between the two countries.
Aaron Navarro, thank you.